Hey everybody, it's your old pal Kevin over here at the Noisy Beast Network on YouTube. And today I want to do the start of a series for ranking albums of each year from the 1980s. So, got to start with the 0 year, 1980. Not exactly my favorite year from the decade, but I have about a dozen albums that I'd like to show. And to help, I'd like to refer to a chart that I published over on besteveralbums.com back in 2015. So that'll provide sort of a template of favorite albums ranked in my order of personal preference. So let's get started. But before we do, gotta shout out a cheers to the vinyl community, and also cheers to Album Master John and everybody over at besteveralbums.com. All right, let's get into it. So, already logged in over at Best Ever Albums, number 40 on my top 100 list of favorite albums from 1980. So to start, we have the band from Switzerland, Yellow. So this was the debut by Yellow. This is a German press on Vertigo Records. It's not a Vertigo swirl, but it has the spaceship label. And true to so many albums on the Vertigo label, this is fairly psychedelic. I mean, I always thought of them as like a new wave band. Most people know them from the song "Oh Yeah," that was on Ferris Bueller's Day Off and in so many TV commercials. But yeah, this is where it all began, and this is really good stuff. Okay, so next at number 39, we've got Cry Tough Dub Encounter, Chapter 3 by Prince Far-I and the Arabs. Oh, let me get back to the website there. And I listened to this on Spotify. I don't own a copy on physical media, but it's pretty good, spacey dub. I noticed on Best Ever Albums, there was a comment from Jimmy Dredd, who is very knowledgeable about reggae, and he says, "Heavy Killer Dub LP, a record where traditional dub coexists with sci-fi effects and the echo and reverb turned up to 11. A hugely underappreciated and crucial dub gem." So yeah, I couldn't have said it any better. That's one of the nice things about Best Ever Albums. If you see a chart with an album that you're not familiar with, you can read reviews and comments from other users, and it's a great way to discover new music. All right, so at number 38, we've got The Selecter with their Too Much Pressure album. I picked up this UK press on Two Tone Records a couple months ago, actually, and it's got the iconic two-tone label. Now at number 37, this is kind of a grail record, and it's kind of out of my price range, actually. In fact, if we jump over to Discogs, you can see that the median price for this record is $193. The high price that it sold for at one point was a little over $300. So I don't anticipate ever picking that up anytime soon. Number 36, Linton Kwesi Johnson, Bass Culture. Don't own it. Listened to it on Spotify several weeks ago, and I was like, yeah, it's okay. It's not bad. But this album by Aksak Maboul, this album is crazy. It's originally, I thought, the name Aksak Maboul sounded like the name of an artist with a backing band. But actually, and they do have some Middle Eastern tinged music. It's, for the most part, it's like instrumental. There are some vocals on a couple tracks, but mostly it's like avant-garde jazz with a new wave kind of vibe to it. And but yeah, I thought this was like a Middle Eastern solo artist, but actually it's a band from Belgium. And in '95 they reissued this on CD. I noticed on Discogs you could pick one up for about $20, because in the last week I've listened to this album about 6 times on Spotify. So whenever you see a recurring pattern like that, you know it's probably time to pull the trigger and get a copy in the collection. Here's another cool one, Sick Soundtrack by Gaz Nevada. Really difficult to describe this band. They're from Italy, and I've read some reviews over on rateyourmusic.com where they were kind of making fun of the singer's heavy accent, like trying to sing in English. But I don't know, I think it works really well with the music. And it was recently reissued, I think in 2023, and copies of that album are the reissue is going for about $100, as well as an OG copy from 1980. So that's a little on the expensive side for my liking. Okay, at number 33, 17 Seconds by The Cure, classic early Cure. Number 32, Sex Pistols, Flogging a Dead Horse. I used to have a copy of this. Sold it years ago when I needed some cash. Wish I hadn't. What it is, actually, if you have Nevermind the Bollocks, you've got about half the tracks on this album. So it's all the singles from Nevermind the Bollocks with the B-side. Okay, so now at number 31, we've got Out of the Tunnel by MX80 Sound. In my recent video for the 2025 vinyl tag, I showed the Swans Filth album as a defining album of the noise rock genre. But listening to Out of the Tunnel recently, I would say this 1980 album from MX80 Sound is pretty much a blueprint for noise rock. Number 30, Lee Scratch Perry. I love Lee Scratch Perry. This Return of Pipecock Jackson album, I listened to it on Spotify a few weeks ago, and I was kind of like, yeah, this is not as tripped out as I remembered it to be. It's decent, but... Okay, at number 29, Sound Effects by The Jam. I'm not a huge fan of The Jam. They're good, you know, but I would say that this album, Sound Effects along with Setting Suns, are probably my 2 favorite Jam albums. Freedom of Choice by Devo is at number 28. And I do have a copy that features the inner sleeve that is their mail order catalog. So there's some fun stuff in here. Buttons, t-shirts, 3D glasses, leisure wear, postcards. So yeah. Devo. And this, along with their debut, for me, are like pretty much all the Devo I need. But yeah, I'd say Freedom of Choice and Are We Not Men are the 2 classic Devo that are essential. And okay, so moving on to number 27. This is an album from the band X from Australia. And I have it on a CD. And the main reason I have it is because it was reissued by Amphetamine Reptile Records, who they were a label in the 90s that I pretty much collected, bought everything that they put out. So yeah, I remember seeing in the AmRep mail order catalogs, they would often go out of their way to say, no, this isn't the X band from Los Angeles, this is the Australian X. And haven't listened to this in a while, but back in 2015, when I was building this top 100 chart for 1980, it came in at number 27. Then at number 26 is the debut album by Circle Jerks, the group Sex album. It's been shown often in the vinyl community. There isn't really a whole lot more that needs to be said. It's a short album, it's fast, it goes by in about 15, 16 minutes or something like that. And this is an OG press on Frontier, which came with the lyric sheet that also has a 6-panel illustration of the Circle Jerk Skank Man in his different stages of skank dancing there. So that's kind of an instruction manual, along with this wacky photo of the band where it looks like Keith Morris, holding a pair of scissors, is about to snip the tongue off of guitarist Greg Hetson. That's pretty wild. And it's a classic album that everybody should know about. All right, so next, Motorhead, Ace of Spades. I used to have this on a cassette. I don't know what happened to it. I lost it along the way somehow, but yeah, would definitely like to pick up a copy of Ace of Spades. Probably on CD would be fine, adequate. Not sure that I'd want to drop $100 for an OG press or anything like that. Next, Negative Land. I believe this is their debut. And the interesting thing about this album, if I'm not mistaken, each cover was handmade. But yeah, Negative Land, they're fairly, humorous, like kind of left field, a lot of sampling, a lot of recordings from shortwave radio, and interesting storytelling by those guys. Okay, number 23, we've got Wild Planet by the B-52s. I picked this copy up recently, last month, I guess, over at the Brass Armadillo Antiques Mall. And shout out to Todd the Mod, who is also a resident here in the west side of the Phoenix Valley. So I heard about the Brass Armadillo Antique Mall from Todd the Mod's channel here in the VC. And I picked up this copy of the B-52's second album, Wild Planet. It's not my favorite by them, but it does have some great songs like Devil in My Car. That's one of my favorite B-52 songs ever. Private Idaho, Quiche Lorraine, Strobe Light. It's a solid, not as great as their first one, but a pretty worthy follow-up. And let's see, heading back over to number 22 on the list, Echo and the Bunnymen's debut, Crocodiles. And then Psychedelic Furs debut at number 21. And this shows the UK cover. I've got the US pressing, which has a slightly different track listing, different cover artwork. And I had this back in high school, and I was a big fan of the Psychedelic Furs, and then there came a point where I started getting into more like hardcore punk stuff, and a lot of the new wave to me was just sort of tame in comparison, and I ended up purging a lot of that stuff from my collection. But yeah, while thinking about doing this video and reviewing the albums that I had in my chart here for 1980, I saw the Psychedelic Furs and I was like, that was a really good album. I need to pick up another copy of that. Kravitz in Toy Town. Joey Kim over at Middle Life Crisis Rants, he recently, or a couple months ago, he showed a copy of this. I think they were it's a UK punk band, kind of in league with the Crass. They were on the Small Wonder record label with Crass, so I don't know if they were kind of from the same scene, but I listened to it recently, and it's like really wacky new wave. It's kind of straddles the line between new wave and punk, but it's got some just very creative jazz elements to it. So wouldn't mind picking up a copy of that if I ever found one. So at number 19, we've got the Pretenders. Never owned a Pretenders album aside from this singles compilation from 1985. To me, the Pretenders are a singles band. This has pretty much everything I would want to hear by them. Okay, at number 18, Talking Heads, Remain in Light. I've never owned a Talking Heads album, but that one's pretty good. All right, number 17, Killing Joke. I would have to say that in the past 4 years that I've been hanging around the vinyl community, this debut album by Killing Joke is possibly the most commonly, frequently shown album ever that I've noticed. I mean, everybody seems to have a copy of this. And this is a 1986 reissue with the gatefold, but interestingly, if you compare this with the original press, the artwork on the inside of the gatefold is actually reversed. Not that it makes any difference, but I don't know if that was intentionally done to differentiate the pressings. But yeah, this is a reissue. And let's see. Next we have Red Exposure by Chrome. And, I want to show that that's number 16 on Best Ever Albums. And the cover art shown here is, I'm guessing, from a reissue, because the vinyl copy that I've got has that image on the back cover, and on the front it looks like this. I've always thought the back cover was just a cooler artwork that should have been used on the front, and evidently they did that for later reissues. Okay, at number 15, Bob Marley and the Wailers with Uprising. I listened to this not too long ago. I was like, what songs are on here? For me to have ranked it so high. And it starts out, it's like, I didn't recognize a lot of these songs, but then you've got Could You Be Loved and Redemption Song, two of Bob Marley's most well-known classic tracks. All right, at number 14, we've got Dead Kennedys, Fresh Fruit for Rotting Vegetables. And I have an original pressing on IRS with the orange cover art that apparently Jello Biafra was like really upset that it was printed in orange, and later the copies were all black and white. But I kind of like how the riot scene with the burning cars are sort of accentuated by the orange, and the DK's logo pops there. And, you've got the band photo that was used that was later censored, probably a legal dispute, I'm not sure. And then they replaced that photo on later reissues with a photo from a nursing home. And this comes with, pretty much like all Dead Kennedys records, a nice poster that folds out with lyrics and clip art. Not sure if this is a Winston Smith collage or if the band put this together. But yeah, as with most Dead Kennedys albums, always nice fold out inner lyric sheet, lyric inserts, and yeah, very cool. Great early hardcore album on the Dead Kennedys debut from 1980 at number 14. Oh, and then at number 13, this one makes me sad. I used to have an original press of Is This Real by Wipers on Park Avenue Records. I ended up selling it at a time when I needed some cash, but I do have their first three albums as a box set that came out in the early 2000s on Greg Sage's Xeno record label right out of Phoenix, Arizona here. He was, maybe still is, a Phoenix resident. But yeah, classic Pacific Northwest punk, psychedelic punk. And let's see, there's a booklet. Yeah, in this box set, there's a booklet that has liner notes from Greg Sage. So I don't own the original vinyl copy of Is This Real, but I do have it on CD at least. All right, and then, oh yeah, Rocky Erickson and the Aliens. This album is brilliant. I love this album. Every song is a classic. I mean, this entire album is just so great. And this is a UK press from 1980. The next year, in 81, Rocky Erickson and the Aliens would put out The Evil One, which was released here in the US on 415 Records out of San Francisco. And the thing is, The Evil One featured about half the songs from this album and then added 5 or 6 different tracks. But unfortunately, like if I had to choose between one or the other, I have to go with the UK press because it has Two-Headed Dog and I Walked with a Zombie. Whereas the track listing on The Evil One it's got some good ones too. If You Have Ghosts, The Wind and More. But yeah, classic album by Rocky Erickson. I think before his mind completely melted. And let's see, heading back over to the chart of 1980 best ever albums. Okay, at number 11, here's another one I picked up from the Antiques Mall. Black Sabbath's Heaven and Hell. So this is post-Ozzy era Black Sabbath with Ronnie James Dio on vocals. And man, this is a killer album. I listened to this album about 5 or 6 times in a week, and I was waking up in the morning with like these songs running through my head. I think this album should come with a warning sticker that says, "Caution, this album contains earworms that will get permanently embedded into your brain." All the songs are so catchy. It's so good. And that's number 11. Number 10, The Cramps, Songs the Lord Taught Us. I think this was their first full-length LP. They did have an EP that came out before this, I'm pretty sure. I don't have any Cramps in my collection anymore. I used to have the Bad Music for Bad People compilation. I had that on cassette, then I had it on vinyl. And yeah, I gotta get some Cramps into my collection. Okay, number 9, The Sound. Jeopardy is the title of the album. And I thought it was interesting to see the Outsiders, who did the Calling on Youth album from 1977. A couple of the members from the Outsiders formed The Sound, which is another band that you often see in the vinyl community, with good reason. I mean, they're a really excellent band. And someday, maybe I'll pick up a copy of the Jeopardy album. And then From the Lion's Mouth is probably even more highly regarded than Jeopardy. All right, number 8, In the Flat Field by Bauhaus. I don't own a copy of this. I listened to it recently and I was like, yeah, it's got some good songs on it. I'm a little bit surprised to see that I ranked this as high on the chart. I mean, it's in the top 10 at number 8. I think if I was to redo this chart now, I want to keep it as sort of a snapshot in time. But if I was to overhaul or update this chart, I'm thinking some of the stuff from my top 10 at that time, I would like swap with Ace of Spades or, something different. But like, that's what I thought of at the time. And, I'm sticking with it. Number 7. Black Market Clash. It's a 10-inch, but qualifies as a full-length album. It's got 9 songs. My favorite track on it is Pressure Drop, which I think is a cover, right? It's a cover of a reggae tune. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Yeah, so it is a compilation. It's earliest tracks are from 77. There's a couple from 78, 79, and then 1980. This is a really great Clash album compilation, All right, next. This one makes me sad also. At number 6, Los Angeles by the West Coast California punk band X. I had an OG pressing of this years ago. I sold it. I needed the money. I'm not interested in paying $100 now for a clean copy. But what I do have is this CD version. The first 2 X albums that were released on Slash Records. Number 5, Joy Division, Closer. It's a good album. Okay, at number 4, Boys Don't Cry. I have a copy on CD. It's actually my wife's copy. But yeah, this was the US version of the debut Cure album, which in the UK was titled 3 Imaginary Boys. And then it was repackaged with a slightly different track sequence and different songs on the US version. And at number 3, DOA's Something Better Change. Canadian punk rock legends, DOA. This is a second press, I believe, and it includes the photo insert of the boys in the band. Doesn't include a lyric sheet that came with some copies, but I'm happy to have this one in my collection for sure. And at number 2, AC/DC's Back in Black. Used to have a copy of it on cassette, now I have it on a CD. Yeah. AC/DC's Back in Black was groundbreaking for me. In 4th grade, my friend Danny dubbed a cassette copy for me, and AC/DC was the shit. I never owned a copy of their albums on vinyl until just recently. I picked up their Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. I would like to find a copy of Back in Black if I could get a clean copy that's not like totally, enveloped with ringware. But okay, and then at number 1, Sandinista. I did a cheesy little video several years ago, my first entry into the vinyl community, and I showed this record, so everybody knows the Clash. I already talked about Black Market Clash, but yep, nothing really more needs to be said about that. That's my number 1 favorite album of 1980. A lot of people think Sandinista is one of the lesser Clash albums, but I like it a lot. I think it's very creative, very experimental, and that's it. My top 100 music albums of 1980, and I would highly encourage anyone who's interested in music, learning about new artists and albums, head over to besteveralbums.com. It's free to join the site. You just create a username and password, and then you can get in, and it would be awesome if anybody wants to stop by my page and leave a comment. leave a rating of my chart, you'd be able to see all 100 entries in my chart for 1980, and you'd also get a sneak peek at what's going to be coming up in future videos for the upcoming years of the 1980s decade. And I did want to show a few 7-inches that I've got that are also from 1980. Just going to do them in alphabetic order. Bay of Pigs on the excellent Subterranean Records label. And we've got Cabaret Voltaire's Seconds Too Late, backed with Control Addict. This was a rough trade release from 1980. And the first 7-inch by Modern Warfare, 3 songs, Dayglow, Shadows, and Delivered. Awesome little EP on Bemis Brain Records. And for the first portion of this episode, what we were listening to in the background was Death to Disco by David Peel and the Death-O-Lets. Kind of a novelty album with songs that are very much anti-disco. And it's on Orange Records, which I knew to be the record label that put out the first G.G. Allin album. But when I looked into it, David Peel was the founder of Orange Records, which kind of makes sense. David Peel, Orange Records. I don't know if that's what the thought process was to naming the record label Orange. But yeah, all right, signing off for now. As always, enjoy listening to great music, and I'll see you next time with a video ranking the albums in order of my preference for 1981. Leave a thumbs up if you like this video, if you found it interesting. Head on over to Best Ever Albums if you want to take a look around over there. It would be awesome to see any of you guys in the forums there. And I'd love to see your chart for 1980 if you feel so inclined to making one. Peace out. We'll catch you next time.